What if I told you there was a pen that could make your drawings real, not metaphorically real, not inspiring you to create something tangible, literally real? You draw something with this pen and it exists. Sounds like a dream come true, right? Every artist's fantasy, unlimited creative power, the ability to bring imagination to life. But what if I told you that every single person who has used this pen is now either dead, missing, or worse? What if I told you that the things this pen creates don't follow the rules of reality? That they exist in ways that break the fundamental laws of physics and sanity? This is SCP-067, the artist's pen. And today, I'm going to tell you the story of how the Foundation discovered it, how they learned what it could do, and why they can never, ever let anyone use it again. Our story begins in a small art gallery in a city that doesn't matter anymore. The gallery was nothing special. Local artists, community events, the kind of place where people pretend to understand abstract art while drinking cheap wine. But in April of 2008, something changed. A new artist appeared. Nobody knew where he came from. He just showed up one day with a portfolio and asked if he could display his work. The gallery owner, always looking for fresh talent, agreed. The artist's name was Michael Hartley. He was in his early 30s, quiet, kept to himself. He told people he'd recently moved to the area for a fresh start. Nobody thought much about it. His first exhibition was titled Subjects of Reality. 12 drawings, all done in black ink, nothing else. Just black ink on white paper. The drawings were incredible, hyperrealistic, every line perfect, every shadow precisely placed. They didn't look like drawings, they looked like high-resolution photographs. People who saw them couldn't believe they were done by hand. The subjects were simple. A coffee cup, a pocket watch, a rose in a vase, an old key, a pair of glasses, a fountain pen. Everyday objects rendered in impossible detail. The exhibition was a massive success. Art critics from the city came to see. Collectors started making offers. Michael Hartley was on his way to becoming famous. But then people started noticing something strange. A collector bought the drawing of the pocket watch. He took it home, hung it on his wall, went to bed. The next morning, he came downstairs and found an actual pocket watch sitting on his coffee table. The exact same pocket watch from the drawing. Same gold chain. Same intricate engravings. Same everything. He assumed his wife had bought it as a surprise. She insisted she hadn't. They argued about it. Eventually, they just accepted it as a strange coincidence. Maybe Michael had seen this watch somewhere and drawn it. Maybe someone else had the watch and left it at their house. Weird, but explainable. Then it happened again. Another collector bought the drawing of the rose. 2 days later, an actual rose, identical to the one in the drawing, appeared in her kitchen, still in its vase. She lived alone. All doors and windows were locked. There was no explanation for how it got there. She called the gallery. The gallery owner called Michael. Michael seemed confused by the question. He said he didn't know anything about it. He was just an artist. He drew things. Then it happened a third time, and a fourth. Every person who bought one of Michael's drawings reported the same thing. Within days of purchasing the artwork, the object depicted would appear in their home. Inexplicably, impossibly. The gallery owner confronted Michael, asked him how he was doing it. Michael insisted he wasn't doing anything. He was just drawing, that's all, just drawing. But the gallery owner noticed something. Michael was always carrying a pen. An old-fashioned fountain pen with intricate designs on the barrel. He never let it out of his sight, never set it down, never let anyone touch it. When asked about the pen, Michael's entire demeanor changed. He became defensive, protective. He clutched the pen tighter and said it was a family heirloom, not for sale, not for discussion. That night, the gallery owner did some research, looked into Michael Hartley, tried to find information about his background, his previous work, his history. There was nothing. No previous exhibitions, no art school records, no social media presence, no history at all before he appeared at the gallery 3 months ago. Michael Hartley didn't exist before April 2008. The gallery owner called the police, told them about the strange objects appearing, about the artist with no history, about the pen he wouldn't discuss. The police investigated. They went to Michael's apartment. He didn't answer the door. They got a warrant. When they entered, they found something that would haunt them for years. The apartment was covered in drawings. Every wall, every surface, hundreds of drawings, thousands, all done in black ink, all hyperrealistic, all depicting objects, people, places. But these weren't like the gallery pieces. These were darker, disturbing, drawings of weapons, of creatures that shouldn't exist, of rooms with impossible geometry, of faces twisted in expressions of terror and pain. And in the center of the room they found Michael, dead, sitting at his desk, the pen still clutched in his hand, his face frozen in an expression of absolute horror. The cause of death was never determined. No wounds, no poison, no signs of struggle. He just died, as if something had simply switched him off. The police collected everything as evidence. The drawings, the pen, all of it went into an evidence locker while they tried to figure out what happened. That's when the Foundation got involved. Because 3 days after Michael's death, officers at the police station started reporting anomalies. Objects appearing out of nowhere, shadows moving wrong, sounds that shouldn't exist, and the drawings. The drawings were changing, lines were moving, new details were appearing, as if they were continuing to create themselves even though the artist was dead. The Foundation dispatched a team. They secured all of Michael's work. They interviewed everyone involved. They contained the pen as SCP-067, and they started trying to understand what they were dealing with. Initial testing was cautious. They knew the pen was anomalous, but they didn't know how dangerous it was. They assigned a D-class personnel to test it, gave him a piece of paper, told him to draw something simple. The D-class, let's call him Subject A, drew a simple circle. Nothing happened, just a circle on paper. They told him to draw something more complex. Subject A drew a cube, a simple 3-dimensional cube. Again, nothing happened immediately, just a drawing. They were starting to think maybe the pen wasn't that dangerous after all. Then, 12 hours later, Subject A started screaming. The guards rushed to his cell. He was pointing at the corner of his room, screaming about a cube. There was nothing there, no cube, just an empty corner. But Subject A insisted he could see it, a perfect cube floating in the corner of his cell, rotating, existing in dimensions he couldn't fully perceive. He couldn't look away from it. He said if he looked away, it would know. It would come for him. Medical staff sedated him, ran tests, found nothing physically wrong. But Subject A never recovered. He spent the remaining weeks of his life staring at empty corners, describing geometric shapes that existed just outside normal perception. The Foundation realized they had underestimated the pen. Whatever it created didn't just exist in normal reality, it existed in some adjacent space, a place where the rules were different. They continued testing, more carefully this time. Subject B was told to draw a simple object, an apple. She drew a beautiful, detailed apple, red and shiny and perfect. 24 hours later, an apple appeared in her cell, exactly as depicted. It sat on her bed, looking completely normal. Subject B was hungry. Standard D-class rations aren't great. She picked up the apple. It felt real, smelled real. She took a bite. The screaming started immediately. The apple was real, but it was also wrong. The taste was right, but there was something underneath it. Something that tasted like concepts that shouldn't have taste. Like the color of fear. Like the sound of forgetting. Subject B couldn't stop eating. Even as she screamed, even as she cried, her hands kept bringing the apple to her mouth. Bite after bite. She ate the entire thing, including the core, including the stem. When she was done, she sat quietly for a moment. Then she spoke. But it wasn't her voice. It was dozens of voices, hundreds, all speaking at once, all saying the same thing. We are the apple. We were drawn into existence. We exist in the space between thought and reality. Thank you for giving us form. Subject B never spoke in her own voice again. When the Foundation terminated her a week later, her last words, spoken in that chorus of voices, were, "The pen knows what it creates, and what it creates knows the pen." The testing continued, because the Foundation needed to understand. Even if the cost was high. Subject C was an artist himself before becoming D-Class. He was told to draw whatever he wanted. He chose to draw a landscape, a beautiful scene of mountains and sky. He worked on it for days, putting incredible detail into every element. The pen never ran out of ink, never skipped. Every line was perfect. When he finished, he showed it to the researchers. They agreed it was beautiful, a masterpiece even. That night, Subject C was found standing at the wall of his cell. He had his hands pressed against the concrete. He was crying. When the researchers asked him what was wrong, he said, "I can hear it. The landscape, it's calling to me. It wants me to visit. It wants me to see what I created." The researchers told him that was impossible. It was just a drawing. But Subject C insisted he could hear it. Wind through the mountains, birds singing, a voice calling his name, begging him to come home. Over the next week, Subject C deteriorated rapidly. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping, just stood at the wall, listening to something nobody else could hear. On the 8th day, he was found dead. His body was pressed against the wall, arms stretched out as if he was trying to push through the concrete. His face was peaceful, smiling. The drawing was retrieved from his cell. When researchers examined it, they noticed something new, a small detail that hadn't been there before. In the corner of the landscape, barely visible, was a figure, a human figure that looked exactly like Subject C. He had become part of his own creation. After this incident, all human testing with SCP-067 was suspended. The risk was too high, the effects too unpredictable. But the Foundation still needed to understand the pen's properties and limitations. They began using D-Class personnel to observe while mechanical devices did the actual drawing, robot arms holding the pen, computer-guided systems, anything to avoid direct human interaction. The results were fascinating and terrifying. When a machine used the pen to draw something simple, like a geometric shape, nothing anomalous occurred, just a normal drawing. But when a machine attempted to draw something complex, especially something organic, like a person or an animal, the pen would resist. The machine would malfunction. The drawing would come out distorted, wrong, nightmarish. It was as if the pen required human intent, human imagination, human soul. One test involved having a machine draw a perfect copy of a photograph, a picture of a dog. The machine replicated every pixel exactly. The drawing was technically perfect, but it was also dead, lifeless. And when researchers looked at it too long, they reported feeling an overwhelming sense of wrongness, as if they were looking at a corpse pretending to be alive. The drawing was destroyed, incinerated. But 3 researchers who had studied it extensively developed a condition they called inverse pareidolia. Instead of seeing faces in random patterns, they stopped seeing faces in actual faces. When they looked at people, all they saw were collections of features. Eyes, nose, mouth. But no person, no life. 2 recovered after extensive therapy. The 3rd resigned from the Foundation and became a hermit. Last anyone checked, he was living alone in the desert, as far from other people as possible. The Foundation catalogued hundreds of drawings found in Michael Hartley's apartment. Each one was photographed, documented, and secured. Personnel were instructed to never look at the drawings directly, only at the photographs. Even that was dangerous. One researcher, Dr. Williams, spent months studying the photographs, trying to find patterns, trying to understand the pen's logic. She noticed something. Many of the drawings depicted the same locations, the same people, as if Michael had been drawing a story. a narrative unfolding across hundreds of images. She arranged the drawings in chronological order based on details and artistic style, and a picture emerged. The story started with Michael as a child, happy, normal, drawing with crayons. Then, as the drawings progressed through his life, something changed. A pen appeared in the images, an ornate fountain pen, the same pen that would eventually become SCP-067. The drawings showed Michael's life being changed by the pen, his art becoming more detailed, more real, but also showing his life becoming stranger. People in his drawings appearing in his life. Places he drew becoming locations he would later visit. The pen was rewriting his reality. The final drawings in the sequence showed Michael becoming aware of what was happening. Drawings of him trying to destroy the pen. Drawings of him trying to give it away. But in every image, the pen remained with him, always in his hand, always drawing. The last drawing in the sequence showed Michael sitting at his desk, drawing himself. And in that drawing, within a drawing, he was drawing himself, an infinite recursion. Michael trapped in his own creation, drawing himself forever. Dr. Williams wrote a report theorizing that Michael Hartley hadn't been the pen's owner. He had been its prisoner. The pen had been using him as a tool to create, to bring things into existence. And when he tried to resist, when he tried to stop, the pen simply used him up and discarded him. 3 days after submitting this report, Dr. Williams disappeared. Her office was found empty, no signs of struggle, no evidence of where she went, but on her desk they found a drawing, done in black ink. A perfect, detailed drawing of Dr. Williams sitting at a desk writing a report. In the drawing she was smiling, but her eyes were wrong. They were looking directly out of the page, looking at whoever was viewing the drawing, and in those eyes was a message, a warning. The drawing was immediately secured. Nobody has looked at the original since, only photographs, and those are restricted to Level 4 personnel and above. The Foundation established strict containment protocols for SCP-067. The pen is kept in a locked box. The box is kept in a locked room. The room is monitored constantly. Nobody is allowed to touch the pen. Nobody is allowed to use it. All of Michael Hartley's drawings are kept in a separate facility, each one individually secured. But here's the thing that keeps the Foundation researchers up at night. The thing that makes SCP-067 so dangerous isn't what it does, it's what it represents. The pen is a tool. Tools are meant to be used. And something, somewhere, created this tool for a purpose. Someone or something made a pen that can turn imagination into reality. Made it, knowing what would happen to anyone who used it. Why? What's the end game? What does this tool accomplish that's worth the cost in human lives and sanity? Some researchers believe the pen is a test, that some higher intelligence is studying humanity's reaction to creative power, watching what we draw, what we bring into existence, learning about us through our art. Others believe it's a weapon, not a weapon that kills, but a weapon that creates. Every drawing made with the pen brings something new into reality, something wrong, something that shouldn't exist. Each creation pollutes the world with impossibility. Eventually, after enough creations, reality itself might start to break down. And a few researchers believe something even more disturbing. They believe the pen isn't creating things at all. They believe it's a doorway, a portal to some other place. And every time someone draws with it, they're not creating, they're summoning, bringing things through from the other side. If this theory is true, then every object Michael Hartley drew is still out there somewhere, real, existing, waiting. The Foundation has tried to track down all the objects from Michael's gallery exhibition. The pocket watch, the rose, the key. Most have been recovered and contained, but 3 are still missing. In the hands of collectors who don't know what they have, objects that should never have existed, sitting on shelves or in drawers, slowly leaking wrongness into the world. And then there's the question of the pen itself. Where did it come from? Michael had it when he appeared in April 2008. But where did he get it? Who gave it to him? Or did he find it? And if he found it, where? And are there more? The Foundation has investigated Michael's past, the parts of it that actually existed before he appeared. He was born Michael James Hartley in 1976. Normal childhood, normal family. He showed artistic talent young and pursued it through high school and college. Then, in 2006, Michael disappeared, dropped out of contact with everyone. Family filed a missing persons report. Police investigated but found nothing. Michael was just gone. He reappeared 2 years later, in 2008, with the pen. 2 years completely unaccounted for. 2 years where something happened to him, something that gave him the pen and changed him forever. The Foundation has investigated every lead, every possibility, but whatever happened to Michael during those 2 years, he took that secret to his grave, or perhaps the pen took it when it was done with him. There's one more detail I need to tell you about. One more piece of the puzzle that makes everything even more disturbing. Among Michael's drawings, researchers found a series that depicted the Foundation itself. Drawings of containment cells, of researchers in lab coats, of the SCP logo, drawings that showed he knew about the Foundation before he died. But here's the thing, these drawings were dated, and according to the dates, Michael drew them in 2007, a full year before he appeared at the gallery, a full year before the Foundation even knew he existed. How did he know about the Foundation? How did he know they would eventually come for him? Was he trying to warn someone, or was the pen showing him the future? His future. And more disturbing, was this all part of some plan? Did Michael deliberately create a situation that would bring the Foundation's attention? Did he want them to find the pen? Was his entire existence after getting the pen just a delivery system to get it into Foundation custody? If so, why? What does having SCP-067 accomplish? What was Michael, or the pen, or whatever controls the pen trying to do? The Foundation doesn't know. And that terrifies them more than any monster or reality bender, because monsters can be fought, reality benders can be contained, but a plan they don't understand? A purpose they can't see? That's the most dangerous thing of all. Here's what the Foundation does know. The pen exists. The pen is dangerous. The pen must never be used again. And someone, somewhere, knows more about it than they do. Current containment protocols forbid anyone from using SCP-067, but protocols can be broken, orders can be disobeyed. Humans are curious creatures. Eventually, someone will think they're smart enough, careful enough, that they can use the pen without falling into its trap. The Foundation has contingency plans for when this happens, because it's not if, it's when. Human nature guarantees that eventually someone will try. When that happens, the entire facility goes into lockdown. The person who used the pen is immediately terminated. Not captured, not contained, terminated. Because the Foundation learned from Michael. Once you use the pen, you're not yourself anymore. You're part of its purpose, part of its design. Every drawing made with the pen is immediately destroyed, incinerated at temperatures high enough to turn paper to ash and ash to nothing. No copies, no photographs, no records except written descriptions. And everyone who saw the drawing, even briefly, is quarantined, monitored for signs of infection. Yes, infection, because that's what it is. The drawings are infectious. They spread. They change people. They make people part of the pen's creation. Most people recover after a few weeks. Some don't. Those who don't are given the choice. Amnestics to forget what they saw and return to normal life. or termination if the infection has progressed too far. It sounds harsh. It is harsh, but the alternative is worse. The alternative is letting the pen's influence spread, letting more wrongness into the world, letting reality crumble under the weight of impossible creations. Let me tell you one final story. 3 months ago, a researcher named Dr. Chen had a breakdown. The stress of working with anomalies finally got to him. He became convinced that he could use SCP-067 safely, that he could control it, use it for good. He overpowered a guard, stole the pen from containment, and locked himself in a lab. By the time security breached the door, he had already drawn something. Nobody knows what he drew. Dr. Chen burned the drawing before anyone could see it, but he described it before security terminated him. He said he drew hope, abstract hope, the concept made visual, lines and curves that represented everything good about humanity, everything worth saving. He said it was beautiful, the most beautiful thing he had ever created. Then he said, "And it's coming." Security terminated him, searched the lab, found nothing. Just ash from the burned drawing and the pen lying on the floor. For 3 days, nothing happened. The Foundation started to relax. Maybe Dr. Chen had been wrong. Maybe the drawing didn't work. Maybe burning it had stopped whatever he created. Then the reports started coming in. People worldwide reporting the same dream, a vision of something beautiful approaching, something that would save them, something that would make everything better. But those who had the dream longest, who saw the vision most clearly, started to change. They became obsessed with waiting, with preparing. They stopped working, stopped eating, just waited for the beautiful thing to arrive. The Foundation deployed a global disinformation campaign, memory wipes, media manipulation, everything they had, and slowly, the effect faded. But the Foundation knows. Whatever Dr. Chen created is still out there. Abstract hope made manifest by the pen, existing somewhere in the space between thought and reality. Growing, spreading, coming. And they have no idea how to stop it. How do you contain hope? How do you fight something that people want to exist? That's the ultimate danger of SCP-067. It doesn't just create things, it creates things people want, things that seem good, things that seem beneficial. But everything the pen creates is wrong at its core. Corrupted by the act of being drawn into existence, the pen remains in containment, locked away, never to be used. But its influence continues. Michael Hartley's drawings are still out there, still affecting reality, still spreading wrongness. And somewhere, in that space between imagination and reality, all the things ever drawn with the pen wait. The objects, the landscapes, the creatures, all of them aware, all of them hungry for more existence, all of them waiting for someone else to pick up the pen and draw them companions. The artist's pen isn't just an anomalous object, it's a doorway to a new kind of hell. A hell where imagination becomes reality, where thoughts have weight, where creativity kills. And the worst part? We don't even know if Michael's pen is the only one. Somewhere out there, there might be others. Other pens, other artists, other people being used as tools to bring wrongness into the world. The Foundation watches, waits, tries to contain the damage, but they know they're fighting a losing battle. Because creativity is human nature. Art is fundamental to who we are. And as long as humans create, the pen's purpose moves forward. Whatever that purpose is, wherever it's leading us, we're getting closer every day. So the next time you pick up a pen, any pen, think about what you're about to create. Think about the power of bringing ideas into reality. And be grateful that your pen is just a pen, a normal tool, nothing more. Because somewhere out there, SCP-067 sits in its box, waiting, patient, ready for the next artist foolish enough to think they can control it, ready to use them up, ready to create more wrongness, more infection, more beautiful, terrible things that shouldn't exist. The pen is mightier than the sword, they say, and they're right, because a sword can only kill, but a pen can create death, and that's so much worse. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story from the SCP Foundation, make sure to follow for more. Learn about the anomalies that exist in the shadows, the things that the Foundation fights to keep from destroying our world. And if you ever find an old fountain pen with intricate designs on the barrel, do yourself a favor. Don't touch it. Don't use it. And whatever you do, don't draw with it. Because some tools have a price, and you never know you're paying it until it's too late. Stay safe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones that seem the most beautiful.